beste kijkers, hier zijn we dan weer met ons wekelijks programma Vrouwenstemmen. Ik begin vandaag even met een e-mail die ik door heb gekregen van vrienden van mij uit Amerika. En ik zal eventjes vertellen waar het over gaat. Het gaat over tampons en menstruatieverbanden. En er is mij gevraagd, please pass on to as many women as possible. Dus alle vrouwen die kijken. If you are a woman and use pads, but especially if you use tampons, read this and pass on to your friends. For the men receiving this mail, please forward it to your friends, significant others, sisters, etc., mothers, daughters. Check the labels of the sanitary pads or tampons that you are going to buy the next time, ladies, and see whether you spot any of the familiar signs stated in this email. En ik kom daarop zo meteen. No wonder so many women in this world suffer from cervical cancer and womb tumors. Why would this be? Have you heard that the tampon makers include asbestos in tampons? Why would they do this? Because asbestos makes you bleed more, ladies. And if you bleed more, you need more. That's why. Here's the scope. Tampons contain two things that are potentially harmful. Rayon, for absorbency, and dioxine is a chemical used bleaching the products. Daarom zien ze zo wit, dames. The tampon industry is convinced that we as women need bleaching white products in order to view the product as pure and clean. Reclame. The problem here is that the dioxine produced in this bleaching process can lead to very harmful problems for a woman. Dioxine is potentially carcinogenic, kankerverwekkend, cancer associated in English, and is toxic to the immune and reproductive systems. It has also been linked to endometriosis and lower sperm count for men. For both, it breaks down the immune system. Dus ook voor de heren. Last September the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, reported that there is really no set acceptable level of exposure to dioxine given that is in cumulative, sorry for my English, and slow to disintegrate. The real danger comes from repeated contacts. Karen Haupert pulling the plug on the tampon industry. I'd say using about 4 to 5 tampons a day, 5 days a month for 38 menstruating years is repeated contact. Wouldn't you? That's what she said. So, ladies, watch what you're buying. A message from America. Goed, het volgende onderwerp. Natuurlijk, in Vrouwenstemmen hebben wij altijd een gast. En vandaag hebben wij een bijzondere gast. Ik vind ze allemaal bijzonder, namelijk die vrouwen. Dus u hoort me dat ook elke week zeggen. Vandaag hebben we Lenny St. Luce. 37 jaar oud en haar status is woordsmid. Lenny,
yeah.
Let loose with your first poem.
To those who feel the same. As I struggle with the eternal dilemma of not wanting my underwear to show stains of menstrual blood and vaginal emissions, berating myself for acknowledging and acquiescing to the rules of polite society, making myself love the stains. Making myself not waste quite so much time on scrubbing my underwear to spotless perfection and not condemning myself when stained and refuse to go. As I put time and effort into loving myself, my body, its emissions, and the effect of said emissions on my knickers, tights and white trousers, a group of people break into a house or a shack or a mansion and gun down every person inside. As I sit at the dinner table, nicely replete or more usually stuffed to immobility, discussing the senseless murder of countless dolphins by the catchers of tuna, I resolve not to buy tuna again, but I do to hurt the feelings of a friend who hurt me. As I sit proselytizing on the wickedness of Japanese, Icelandics, Russians, Spaniards with regard to sea mammals, a mother gives a 45-year-old man the use of her 6-year-old child's body in exchange for some money and some crack. As I refuse a bunch of flowers and a box of Rowntree's chocolates, Rowntree's, yes, still, because of their former association with South Africa, and the flowers because of the human race's obsession with appropriating nature for decoration. The time I spend explaining my reasons clearly is enough time for a man to batter out a baby's brains against a wall and throw the lifeless body at the mother's feet. As I spend more than the Chinese average yearly wage on a binge of chocolate that I need in my war of allowing and denying myself in an effort to control my eating disorder, another man sucks his tongue and swallows his hunger to give his mate and child his share of less than I threw away yesterday evening. As I stare at my over-rounded belly, downward-facing nipples, fat thighs, wide feet and short, stubby neck, and tell myself I'd better start loving it before I have wrinkles to add to my list of negatives. No offence to wrinkles. Another war in Central America claims its 20,000th victim. As I stare at my overfed, well-clothed, well-tended body, a couple in Bolivia sell the retinas of their 3-year-old to an Arab of 60 so the rest of the family can survive. As I spend on 100 grams of cashew nuts more than a person peeling them would get paid for a day's work, I enjoy putting cashew nuts into my mouth, but the person peeling them has hands that are not recognizable as hands because of the poisons in the shells. Have you ever seen a cashew nut shell? I haven't. But where does this get me? The problems that assail me are real and painful, and of little importance on a worldwide scale. What I'm trying to say is, I don't know what to do. The problems, the dilemmas, the dichotomies are chipping away at me day by endless day. So if I cry for no reason, am moody, shit-faced, bitchy, and generally a pain in the ass, please forgive me. For though I know the bloodstains, the tuna, the whales, it's all important, and that every step we take towards loving ourselves brings us closer to loving each other, sometimes I feel so alone and isolated and unloved, and I hate myself for my misery in a life of comparative ease and luxury. But I'm saying this because I know that sometimes you feel the same, and I'm saying this because we have to carry on with the petty, pathetic little battles in order to even dream of winning the war.
I like a bit of silence after this one. God. Anger.
Yeah.
Anger.
Yeah, and frustration.
Anger and frustration, I can hear that.
Yeah.
So talk about how do women channel their anger?
How?
Yeah. Because I meet a lot of, it's the same for me. I mean, how do women channel this aggression, which is also hurt? I mean, this is so powerful what you're doing, what you're saying, and so relatable.
Yeah. I think a lot of women channel that frustration and that anger into competition with other women. I think that's a primary focus for it. Or if not necessarily competition with other women, into that whole competitive thing with pushing your child forward. Or
that one thing, or physical competition.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of trying to find a kind of a release for it. But I think a lot of that is because women don't want to own their anger, and they don't want to see their frustration.
Yeah, we talked about this. So where are you originated from?
I was born in England, in Bristol.
Okay.
And you want to know where my family are from?
Well, they probably originated somewhere back in Africa or so.
Originally, yeah. Before the Middle Passage, as it's called. It's a very nice euphemistic name for it. But they come from an island called Dominica, which is not the Dominican Republic, and it's in between Martinique and Guadeloupe in the Windward Islands in the West Indies, Caribbean.
Okay, so then they both... how did they came to England? Is your mother?
Separately.
They came separately.
Yeah, okay. And they kind of don't really want to talk about that very much.
Okay. Well, we skip the one. We skip the past. We go into the now.
Okay.
Because the memory is somewhere. It's something I'm learning too. It's the only thing what's left is now.
Yeah. That's the most important time.
Because the memory gives too much grief and guilt and anything to it, and I can relate to it. I'm going to have an interview next week and with another black woman, and I thought, why am I so attracted to black people? Because I am. You know, there's this long link, and I have to confess colors, as they say. Which is that my ancestors came from Zeeland, and you know Zeeland is one of the big slavery. They went the first. They went to Suriname and Curacao and conquered it, and so my ancestors, my bloodline, because I've been born in Zeeland. You know, it's almost like I have to this whole linkage.
This is your version of reparation, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is my version of reparation. And I went last year to South Africa and I was robbed. I had a knife on my throat. I mean, I had to give everything, my cameras, everything. And it's like my whole wealth, which has been accumulated, I suddenly had to hand it over to a black person. It was like, oh, right, okay.
Did you feel a lot better about it afterwards?
Well, the treatment was kind of intense. You know,
of
getting a knife on your throat is not.
Nice.
It's pretty intense. You know, it's brought me in a shock. It brought me in a shock for months. I was shocked. I was shocked to the bone.
Yeah.
You know, but I understood. It
gives you
the
an
guilt.
image.
It gave me an image of the reparation. You know, where that apology is not enough. It's also, you know, you have to do something.
Has there ever been an apology? I'm not aware of there ever having been an international apology for the slave years. And an apology would be a start. One of my good friends, Gillian, is Jewish, and we have this big row all the time about the blacks and the Jews, you know. And we do it to be really outrageous, so we do it in public a lot.
Okay, good.
And well, one of the facts is that there's a conservative estimate of 60 million Africans being taken from the continent.
Right.
You know, which is
60 million.
60 million.
Oof.
And the death rate was around 60 to 75%. You know, so that's a lot. And that's what so much of the wealth of the Western nations is based on. I mean, I grew up in Bristol. Right. And if you look in cities in England like Bristol, Liverpool and Glasgow, a lot of the municipal buildings, the gemeente buildings, have blacks' faces on them, you know, so they have a bit of corn, you know, a little bit of sugar cane, and the head of a black man, because that's where the money came from.
Right. So there has to be. What do you think about this? How would this be repaired? I mean, I'm doing my best. You know, I'm kind of slowly getting to the point. It's like I can't move any further by dealing with some past here. Yeah. There is an ancestral part of me, which I'm standing here in this time, in the now, but yet also with a little bit of past. So I need to integrate somewhere. I need to do it. I think the owning of it and people trying to find out about it instead of keep on saying, "Oh, it was so long ago and we don't do that anymore." And and it's, you know, just if people could own
the fact that the reason the West is so rich
wealthy.
is because they plundered
Right.
other countries. And if people in the West could begin to realize that these were not savages, that most of these civilizations were much greater and actually in places where we are all in the West now trying to get to, they were there already when they became decimated. And there's an appreciation often for Asia and Asian culture, and there's very little appreciation for Africa unless it's whited. Right. So all Egyptians, oh well, they're not really Africa, are they? They're Arabs, you know, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
I know. Yeah.
An apology would be great to start off with, because that would at least be owning it.
Right, I apologize for this.
No, I don't mean
no,
you
I
personally.
do. I know. I have to start somewhere, you know.
Okay.
I do.
Thank you.
Whatever my ancestors, I do. I apologize.
I think you did very well in South Africa.
I had a wonderful time. I mean, oh God, woman, I loved it. I loved the Jews. I loved the sun. I loved the nature. I did. I mean, and that incident gave me an intense empowerment because I understood something. And now I have to do the work, you know. Now I have to do the work. Okay, so we go back to your work. I mean, you are on the stage.
Yeah.
You do. You perform. You're a performer. When did you start it? I mean, you were young. Where was the beginning?
Well, the beginning was 5 years old as the African in the school Christmas play.
Okay. In
the
England.
African, yeah. At St. Pius X school. So that was the beginning. I think I obviously got a taste for it.
How was it? I mean, there was. You mean you were young and you were at a white school?
Well,
or not?
It was predominantly a white school,
right.
but I mean, Bristol has one of the oldest black communities. So my mum says she was very aware of racism there, but I can quite honestly say that I didn't feel racism until I moved out of Bristol to other areas of the country. I'm not aware of having felt it. Maybe it was because I was too young, but I just think it is a very mixed city. You know, and I only realized that my color was important and bad when we moved up to the Midlands.
Okay. So that suddenly gave a whole different flavor.
Yeah.
Some people say a person is made out of mud. A poor one's made out of muscle and blood and skin and bone. A mind that's weak and a back that's strong to go. 16 tons, why you get another day older and deeper in debt. Same Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. I'll go on when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel and I went to the mine. I loaded 16 tons of lumber and coal, and the foreman said, "Well, listen, my soul, you load 16 tons. Why you get another day older and deeper in debt? St. Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. If you see me come there, step aside. A lot of men didn't, a lot of men died. One fist made of iron, the other of steel, and if the ground doesn't get you, then the left one will go. 16 tons, why you get another day older and deeper in debt? St. Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Feeling a bit self-obsessed today. This is called growing up. Growing up means no more temper tantrums. Growing up means thinking about the consequences of your actions. Growing up isn't necessarily growing older. Growing up isn't always learning to be bolder. Growing up is learning to deal with pain. Growing up is knowing that shit happens, but in essence things remain
is losing your youthful looks. Growing up is starting to, or wishing that you read books. Growing up is facing the fact that maybe you'll never find true love. Growing up is finding an inner certainty of what's above. Growing up is seeing cycles repeat. Growing up is a preference for being on your belly, arse or back instead of your feet. Growing up can be growing together. Growing up is the realization that there is no forever. Growing up can hurt, it's also a joy. Growing up is leaving behind the things of girls and boys. Growing up is finding that you're no longer naive. And an inner certainty tells you, growing up is finding that you know how to breathe. And an inner certainty tells you when it's time to leave, even if you ignore it. Growing up is growing to love self, or finding that you have a lot of work to do to get self off the shelf. Growing up is when you have a distinct circle of friends. Growing up is losing track of the latest trends, but not caring because you know that life never ends. Growing up is being at ease in many different places. Growing up is a heart that's scarred and a memory of too many faces. Is growing up accepting that you may not get what you always dreamed you'd be? No. Growing up is the knowledge that I and my life, that you and your life, that we and our lives are as we choose them to be. And that is the knowledge and the power that will set us free.
It is not easy, eh?
No.
It's not easy. I find it quite a difficult process.
Yeah.
As a woman, to want to do your thing, have a very clear vision of how you want to do it, how you want to relate to it, and then to economically be successful also.
But it's because you can't, because you're a woman, obviously.
Right.
You just have to realise that you just can't do that because you're a woman.
Right. That's a big problem at the moment. Because the problem is I see a lot of women getting out on the market economically, wanting to do their thing, having a voice, having an important thing to say, the way they say it, to their sisters, to their values, the morals they hold, the way they raise their children. And then when they're out there economically, they have to do it according to the male's view.
Yeah, definitely.
While it is playing together for me, eh?
Yeah.
It's okay, but...
I got sent a postcard by a girlfriend of mine, and
Yeah.
it says, women fly when men aren't watching.
Absolutely.
You know, because it's also just that whole
Absolutely.
thing about the competition element, again, coming in
Exactly.
between women. They call it tall poppy syndrome. So that if a woman does well, particularly in the male world, then there has to be something wrong with her. No?
Right.
Or,
How do you deal with competition? How do you deal with feminine competition, male competition?
well, men aren't really very important, are they, really, when it comes to competition?
Well, they try.
Yeah, well...
They try.
Well, in terms of what
try.
I do, it's like...
I get aroused by them sometimes. I must admit. They
I'm
arouse me
aroused.
sometimes in their competitiveness. And I have to really watch myself and say, hey, I'm getting aroused by the competitors. I don't want to be competitive. I don't want it. It's not good for me. It doesn't do me well. I can feel the spark of it sometimes.
I find it much more difficult not to get drawn into competing with women.
Yeah.
But that's obviously about all of my insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really feel insecure around men, actually. And I'm very pleased to have discovered that I actually like them and enjoy them very, very much. But I don't feel threatened by them. I very rarely feel frightened of them physically, on a physical level, very rarely. I think the last time that I actually was very, very scared was when I was pregnant, because I thought, I can't run. Like in the last stages of pregnancy, I thought, I can't run and I can't fight and I can't do anything. And that was the first time in a long time that I really felt that
vulnerability,
the normal fear of men as the aggressor or the perpetrator of violence, because I've always thought, well, I'll just punch them back or whatever. And, but with so okay, go away. But with women, sometimes I really get drawn into it because of my feelings of insecurity, and that women can tune into much better.
That's true.
And I would say that then it's also very different between black and white people. So I can get drawn into it much easier with black people, really. I have a couple of instances, where just some woman will wind you, and I just can't help myself. I just have to put her in a place, and I don't want to, but I just have to sometimes. And then you kind of think, oh no, to really slap them down or something, but in subtle ways.
Well, you have to be firm.
Yeah.
Because if you have your truth and you have your focus, and others start to kind of like children, they're like children. It's like children behavior. They start to wear you down. They start to work against you. I mean, that's not what you want, is it? You want to work them. Either you work with me or piss off. That's something, basically what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I mean, you either work in the nature of truth, love, caring, support, etc., or otherwise piss off.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else to do. I mean,
if you won't remove yourself, then I'm going to have to remove you.
Then, right. Okay, but your work, I mean, how is it? The beginning of your work, the way you entered the showbiz. I mean, can I call it showbiz?
I wish. I think I'd call it performing more than showbiz.
But you got a good outlet through it. I mean, did it somehow?
It's been wonderful therapy for years. Absolutely the best.
Okay.
Like just anything that was too much would go down on paper. And then after I had my daughter and stopped performing so much, then actually loads and loads of those things became too much, and I didn't have time or space or energy to write, and I also couldn't form the words as well for a very long time after I had my daughter. And I realized what was happening when
how old is your daughter?
She's just 5.
She's 5. Oh God, yeah. Don't you think that you're sitting? Don't you think you're sitting a little bit in that time space, like till 7 years? That is the sacrifice you had to make as a mother, almost in order to raise your child and be there, and that the creative side of you will come when she gets a little older? Isn't that part of that process?
So they say, that's what they say, isn't it? But how come that, women who are financially stable don't have to make that choice? To actually, what happened was a girlfriend of mine came to me and said, how are you doing? And I said, well, I'm learning how to be a mother, and it's very, very hard. Yeah. And she's teaching me a lot about being a woman and about being a human being. And those processes are just helping me to learn, to grow. And she said, well, how about the artist? And I said, well, it's ticking. It's ticking, but it wasn't living. And being an artist is as much a part of me as...
being a mother or being a woman.
And I've actually been an artist a lot longer than I've been a mother.
Yeah.
And I was an artist before I was aware that I was a woman, and all those other things. That urge to write has been with me longer than anything else, and that need to get it out there and that need to perform. And I when she was very small, I had some shows with her on my back, and that was the most amazing feeling. That was just so powerful, her tied on my back and me performing on stage. That was amazing.
Oh, I can believe that.
And then having her, when she was quite young, 2, 3, coming to gigs, and seeing her there and enjoying that. But I suddenly realized at a certain point, I haven't written anything.
Did you write anything about that time with her? Being the mother, the baby, the whole new experience?
None of it came together, because you get like 2 minutes to start scribbling something, and then she cries or she wants feeding or something needs doing. So there was never any concentrated time where you can just kind of like sit, connect with that energy, draw it up, and then actually let it flow through. And that was what happened. I felt like I'd actually lost my connection to my source.
How do you think women should cope with that? I mean, because there are all women out there who have children. I mean, there are women who are in a similar process that you are. How can we, as women, make space for the different parts we are as females, according to you?
I think the only way that it will happen is when women connect with other women, and when women connect with the notion of not tying their child to a man and not tying themselves.
What do you mean by that, tying their child to a man?
That for me to have a baby, I have to have a man. And if there isn't a man there, then I can't have this child, or I can't have a child, that actually when women spend their time, and I'm not saying I want to do away with heterosexual relationships or families or anything like that, but really when you have a child, men are not very useful most of the time, because you have to keep explaining things to them or telling them, or they're not there, or they feel threatened, or they disappear, or you're having to conceptualize things that are only feelings for them. I don't know. There was never a man around when I had my child.
Okay.
So at a certain point, I could turn to my girlfriends and just say to them, "Look, I need space away from this child. I need space to go and do this. I need space
Otherwise
to go and create."
Get her through the walls.
No, I never. I never felt that frustration with her. I was always quite fascinated with her, but it was this feeling of responsibility, and it was that feeling of because her father wasn't around and didn't have anything to do with me, and I didn't have a man, that the weight of being solely responsible for this other human life was choking me.
I understand what you're saying,
and it was. I never blamed her for it, because it was my choice, but it was just this kind of like,
Right.
And my girlfriends, most of them other single mothers, knew that feeling, understood it, and could just say to me, "Okay, she's safe with me," and would just take her away. But most of that time I was just so busy going, I never actually got to do any writing.
Well, that was a good expression of how she felt, so we can have a little compassion here. Jesus.
But I think if women who have babies kind of come together with other women who also have babies, it's that whole, a bit like the Muslim ideology of men and women, doing and raising children jointly. That was always my dream.
Collective parenting.
Yeah.
I mean, I took that part. I think from a very young age I understood that I would be suffocated. I said actually from a young age, I said I will never have children. I mean, we talked about it, but suddenly the memory comes up again.
I told you.
I mean, we talked about having children or not. I don't have children, and I made an unconscious choice. I made an unconscious choice. But I have been collective parenting with my girlfriends, and and for God's sake, they have given me the beauty of mothering also. I mean, the children were great. I mean, one of my children, she's a little Chinese girl. She said for 3 days she came. I said, "Well, now you're under my care for I think it was 4 or 5 days." And she said, "Fine, you're my mother now." I said, "Yes." She said, "Okay, then lift up your shirt, because then I also want your tits." Every evening, 10 minutes, she would suck my tits. And after 10 minutes, and in the morning, that was her rhythm. She claimed it. And it was wonderful for me to feel that beauty. My daughter's. I felt a little off in the beginning, because it was so erotic and it was so beautiful, and I felt I have to share it with her mother that she wants my tits otherwise. But it was nature. It was like, this is it, made me feel very comfortable.
It was, I mean, my daughter was very similar, would suck on any tit. She's still a tit grabber, If you've got a pair of tits and she's sitting on your knee, you don't even have to have tits, Like, she got into bed with my boyfriend and I the other day, and she just lies in bed, one hand down my top and the other one going like this on his nipple. Just ecstatic, And I always see it with children and tits. They just love them. They love them, and that's what they're for. And that's also, I mean, that for me is the biggest kind of magnifying glass on what's wrong with the society. Tits were designed for children and babies, but they are these accessories that have been hijacked by men. and men decide what is a standard of beauty for breasts, so that you can go and you can choose tits off a wall, you know. Now,
Well, I don't agree with you on this one. I feel that, I mean, what you say, I agree, but I also see that women got that idea because somewhere they have a feeling like big tits. It is like this big universal knowledge having, you know.
but they're specific big tits. They're specific. They have to be a certain shape. They have to be a certain a way of looking. So I know, because I've always had big tits, and I just had that thing for a long time where you take your bra off and people go, well, men kind of go, well, they're not supposed to look like that.
Is that, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I never had that
I
idea.
don't know what to do with these, you know. And I kind of always thought
Well,
there was
that's-
something wrong with me until I went to Tunisia and went to a hammam in Tunisia, and for the first time saw like hundreds of pairs of tits like mine. I was like, okay. All right. It's because I'm in Africa now, and this is an African body. All right. You know.
Right.
But also coming back and then looking again. I mean, I wrote something about it. Can I read it?
Yeah,
I wrote
sure.
this down.
Go
I got
ahead.
into
Go
trouble
ahead. Go
reading
ahead.
this.
No. I love you to.
I just wrote this
love
because I had a
your
gig
work.
at the sauna on Sunday night, and I'm always moaning about this, so I'll just read the poem. Okay. Where's the place I both love and hate? Always want to go there, always hesitate. Trash is my security and hurts where it hits. When I'm in the sauna, I'm always comparing tits. I prefer to keep mine hidden, but it's the best place to be for gals who like to show their boobs or who need their boobs to be seen. I cannot stand to bare my pair when I'm in such company, because then my melons seem like an anomalous monstrosity. I guess men have a similar thing when comparing pricks, but the only pretty willy is maybe one that's stiff. But I guess a man who's in the sauna with a penis that's erect is a man who's in the sauna and likely to get decked. We hear a lot about penis size and length and also width, but hey, I'm not here to talk about penises. I want to moan about tits. I was never one to show mine in public, maybe because I'm a Brit. Some women love to flash their eyes, some love to flash their tits. The ones you see all seem to be pretty pert shapely and never lax, then my pair seem to hang around like two old sacks. In terms of function, my breasts serve me very well. They keep me warm, they fed my child, and give pleasures too great to tell. But as a model on a wall, they really wouldn't sell. Women who think they have great tits just love to show them off. They're thrilled to bits, to act dead cash, oh my little old pair, as they revel in the ogles and the dribbles and the stares. Once my mammaries were horizontal defiers of gravity. The fact that couldn't last forever is a great calamity. Their size and their weight sealed my fate. So I guess it'll be the next life before I get a pair I rate. I wouldn't want a saline silicone man-made pair of tits. I'd rather keep my far from perfect goddess-given tits. Big, small or medium, oval, long or round, with nipples pointing forward up to the side, but never to the ground. Jealous? Envious? Me? But yes, of course, my bazookas could be from a camel, cow or horse. It took me years to realise the only boobs you get to view are the ones the owners think are very beautiful too.
They're great. They're great. Yeah, the titty thing.
Yeah.
God, we really do this. Huh? We
Yeah.
kind of expose them freely. I mean, some of us women.
Yeah.
But we know, what it attracts.
Yeah. A lot of positive attention.
If you feel bad about yourself, just expose your tits.
Yeah.
Then you
If
will
they're
get
the right shape, of course.
well, whatever shape they are.
No.
No.
I mean, to children, yes, definitely. Children just love any tits. Any tits.
But
They
I'm a
just adore
child.
them.
I belong to the child nature.
Oh, okay.
I still belong to the child nature.
I can see so many shades of green, dappled light trickling through the trees. Sid's chat and laughter as she leans against my knees. Birdsong travelling on the breeze. I don't want to think about murders and wars, Italian country roads lined with African wars. I'm fed up with liberals and their racist denials, botched democratic justice with risible trials. Responsibility for trying to create world peace is not mine alone, though sometimes that's how it seems. Many are working battling poverty and disease, but then there are many more whose focus is making real deals. I've been tried and I've failed. I've been jailed and bailed. I've been launched and I've been sailed. I've been storm-tossed by gales. And then out in a row on the back of a whale. I've been low and I've been brought high. I've been sad and I've cried. I've told the truth and I've lied. I've been changed and chastened by the moon and her tides. I found myself alive when I thought that I died. I've been a lover and a mother, but I've never been a bride. I've been healthy and I've been ill. I use condoms and not the pill. I haven't changed as much as I want to, but I know that I will. I've tried to die, but I'm here still. I've often been dressed, but I've never been styled. Most use a touch-tone phone. I think I prefer it when you dialed. Don't try and tell me I want to be wild. Don't try and adult me. I'm reclaiming my child. And if you wind me up, then I'm gonna get wild. I want to live in a world of peace, happiness, laughter, and joy without cease. Every human being living a life of ease. Every living creature doing all they can to please. Dappled light trickling through the trees. And I can see so many shades of green. Sits, chat, and laughter as she leans against my knees. And the mock of the cuckoo. And the mock of the cuckoo. And the mock of the cuckoo. Traveling on the breeze. My favourite thing. Me, I'm a garlic girl. Garlic morning, noon and night. Breath to make you a hair girl. But my blood and my heart are doing all right. My friends say they can smell me before I'm even seen. My clothes all take themselves to the washing machine. Some people say garlic makes them sick. But it's antiviral, it's antibiotic, and it's antiseptic. I put garlic on my eyelid when I start to get a style. I put garlic in my pussy when my thrush is running high. I'm not talking about a thrush fruit, I don't mean a pussycat. I'm talking about candida, and I'm talking about my twat. Garlic fried with mushrooms, or baked whole in the oven. Garlic peps your sex drive, but it don't give you too much loving. Whole garlic in my curries, whole garlic cloves in my stews. And when I get athlete's foot, I don't put it in my shoes. Alioli olio is my favourite dish. It's Italian, spaghetti bolognese garlic. Oh, it's rich. My favourite breakfast, let me tell you if I may. Everyone I know has liked it. I could eat it every day. It's avocado, sliced garlic, and a touch of Vegemite. On ciabatta, pizza toast, or even croquettes if you like. Oh, me, I'm a garlic lover. When it comes to versatility, there isn't any other. Some say it's antisocial because it makes your breath stink. But that's a stupid argument. Listen to me. Think. If you eat it, you can't smell it. Everybody knows that's true. So if you don't like the smell of garlic, then you know just what to do. If you really don't like the smell of garlic, then don't come to my door. Because when I say hello, my breath will knock you to the floor. And me, I'm a garlic fan. Any space with lots of garlic, that's the place I am.
You're very interested in astrology.
Yeah.
How come? What is it? What is astrology for you doing?
It gave me an understanding and an acceptance of myself and other people. So I found for a long time that if they were that just because of that whole elemental thing, you know, the water, fire, earth, air, that there's just going to be difficulties with people. So that there was an explanation for it, and it was beyond judgment. You know, that your relationships with people, or the way you interrelate with people, especially the difficulties, there's usually an astrological reason for it.
Right. It gave you some perspective.
Yes.
How to cope with different personalities.
And also my own.
And your own.
Yeah.
Feelings.
And an understanding of myself and the nature of humanity. These subconscious, these subliminal rather than subconscious, these subliminal energies that work between us all.
Would it be, I mean, it would be interesting if you look at it from the astrological perspective. You could see that globally people are sometimes in the wrong place, in the wrong country.
Yeah.
They, better move to another space where they can enhance themselves a little bit more.
Yeah. So, like, say for instance, when I was in Australia,
Right.
everything worked so easily for me. I mean, I made more money than I have ever made in my life. I slept with more men than I've ever slept with in such a space of time. I had everything worked, and all of the difficulties were very, very easy for me in terms of communication. It's a Sagittarius country.
So why aren't you moving your butt over there? What is it?
Because
I mean,
I really want to. I've always
Okay.
wanted to. My aim was that, something I really had to cope with quite deeply, was that my aim had been, when my daughter was 4 years old, I would have the wherewithal and the means to move to Australia.
right.
I could go to Australia now, but I would have to disappear because I can't be legal there, because I'm too old and I'm not solvent enough.
Right.
So I could go there, and there are enough places and people where I could be there and be illegal, but that means that if they ever caught me, I could never go back for 5 years.
Why don't you start raising up the Aboriginal population?
Well, that's what I offered to do
I
when
mean,
I was
council-
there. That's what I
Right.
offered to do. I kept on saying, well, wouldn't you like to, because the Aborigines don't have, what do they call it? I don't know, the recessive genes. So even though they're very black, they don't get throwbacks in terms of colour, but characteristics, facial characteristics. Apparently, I hope I'm not getting this wrong. Please forgive me if I am.
Well, okay.
But my understanding is that there are certain physical characteristics, but it's not based on skin.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you don't get that thing which you get when people mix with Africans, that there'll always be a throwback at some point in terms of dark skin.
Okay.
So I used to hang out with this great family in Naura and Geringer, and I used to keep saying to them, but Dallas is really, really pale. Why don't you let Dallas marry me and I get some dark genes back into him? It's the family line. And they were all like,
right.
But very, very wonderful. I had a brilliant time there, particularly because it was also quite political and a lot of support, and good times with the peoples.
Well, it is a way of thinking about it. Holland is a water country. When you have some fire, it's always like, no, we can't do it this way. We have to do it this very stable. Sometimes you can't get through it.
In Amsterdam, because I have a lot of water. I'm a fire-water mix.
Okay.
So Amsterdam also works for it. I think it's a cancer city.
It's
I
cancer,
think.
right.
Yeah, and I've got mooning cancer.
Okay, so it gets you at least into a lot of...
Like on a personal level, it works very well.
But it's
for me.
a hard-working job in Holland. I mean, it's a lot of work because they're not fiery. You have to kind of, when there's too much water on fire,
Steam.
it will steam, but it will also, it's too much water.
Yeah.
It will go out completely.
I
It's
found
kind of
it-
seeking a balance in
well,
that, huh?
Britain doesn't work for me
No.
at all, and America just.
Capricorn, Britain.
Oh, Britain, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't work
Don't
for
pick
me.
your nose. I'm a Capricorn.
I know I don't mind
It has its
cappies.
qualities.
I don't mind cappies, Like. But it's your Mars in Scorpio that actually sort of touches me, I think. Well, that's
it.
Scorp,
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
But and America.
Well, I have quite some planets in Scorpio, so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
well enough Scorpio.
I think that's it as well. That's definitely it. I always have problems with cappies, but anybody with lots of Scorpio kind of
That's
goes
okay.
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 Yeah.
So the next performance is in the Badkuip. She's doing performances in the Badkuip, and she's hilarious. She makes me laugh with Thunder. I mean, you really made me laugh in Thunder with Ruigoord. I mean, you were fabulous. It was the first woman in a long time. I felt so like, wow, yeah, she makes me roar with laughter. You made me roar with laughter.
Oh, good.
It was really good to feel that. You brought something up in me, which I kind of, too so serious. But what I like about you is you make a package of anger, of truth, of values and morals, and you pack them in like they hit you right in the spot. But somehow it brings up laughter, and emotions, and I felt touched. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's one more poem.
Quickly.
Yeah, a nice one. A good one.
The garlic poem on my daughter.
Oh, the garlic.
Oh,
The garlic. Let's do the garlic. That's a great one.
Me, I'm a garlic girl. Garlic morning, noon and night. Breath to make your hair curl, but my blood and my heart are doing all right. Friends say they can smell me before I'm even seen. My clothes all take themselves to the washing machine. Some people don't like garlic because they say it makes them sick, but it's antibiotic, it's antiviral, and it's antiseptic. I put garlic on my eyelid when I start to get a sty. I put garlic in my pussy when the thrush is running high. I'm not talking about a thrush bird. I don't mean a pussycat. I'm talking about candida, and I'm talking about my twat. Garlic baked whole garlic cloves in my curries, whole garlic bulbs in my stews, and when I get athlete's foot, I don't put it in my shoes. Aglio e olio is my favourite dish. It's Italian spaghetti with oil and garlic, delicious and rich. My favourite breakfast, let me tell you if I may. Everyone I know has liked it. I could eat it every day. It's avocado, sliced garlic and a touch of Vegemite on ciabatta, pita, toast or even crumpets if you like. Some people don't like garlic because they say it makes you stink. But that's a stupid argument. Listen to me. Think. If you eat it, you can't smell it. Everybody knows that's true. So if you don't like the smell of garlic, then you know just what to do. If you don't like the smell of garlic, then don't come to my door, because when I say hello, my breath will knock you to the floor. Me, I'm a garlic fan. Any place with lots of garlic, that's a space I am.
Dit was Vrouwenstemmen vandaag. Volgende week zijn we er weer met een nieuwe gast. En ik heb genoten. Ik hoop u ook. Bedankt.
Dankjewel.